Hello everybody and welcome to Baldur's Gate 3. I'm going to go through a couple of different builds. They're both cleric builds, but these are the most effective builds that I've found. One melee and one ranged. The ranged one I'm not super fond of, but it is effective. You have a lot more versatility in the character. The melee one is much more efficient. Yeah, so the thing is that with the movement ranges and everything, a lot of these combats have massive maps, so you spend a lot of time moving around as a melee character, whereas a ranged character you just get to a point where you can fire from and go from there. So our melee character is going to be primarily strength. Strength and con. We're not really even going to worry about our wisdom. So we're just going to start with Sailor, because that gives us our athletics bonus. You know, no big deal either way, no matter how you want to do it. That's not a huge deal. And then we go with the Githyanki. I know you get +1 to intelligence, which is kind of a waste. But the important thing is that you're getting the longsword proficiency. And as a race, they get medium armor proficiencies. So this is actually effective for other classes as well. The thing about it is, they are a strength base. They do have that +2 to strength. So while they do get the cool Githyanki cantrips, making a mage out of them is a bit of a thing. I wouldn't go that route per se. But we're going to use them for the melee cleric. We're just going to skip over that. We're going to go with light domain. Light domain has several things, and I'll show you as we go through the leveling process why we chose that. And when we go in, we don't need guiding bolt. However, we do need bless. We don't need create water, but we do need healing word. So that's what we're going to start with there. On skills, as I said, we've got well, we've got strength, which is just athletics, and con, which has nothing. So you know, you can pop in persuasion because you're going to be at a penalty to persuasion otherwise. Insight, whatever, doesn't really matter so much. We get to pick our other one, so you know, we'll go with intimidation, whatever you want. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to drop our intelligence and our charisma to minimum base. Drop our wisdom down to 10. Sorry, work is interrupting. Alright, so then our strength maxes out at 17, our con at 15. So we want to make sure that we put the rest into dex. That gives us a +2 there. The 9 intelligence is going to be offset by an item. It's the only true stat item in the game currently. The wisdom, we left it at 10. It's our base stat. But we're not casting any offensive spells with resists for the most part, so we're not worried about it. The charisma is a thing. You will not be persuading people very effectively, and that is just a part of life as a cleric of violence. So, and we'll just pop through this part. And so as I level up, I'll be popping the screen back so you can see what we're doing there. Alright, so here we are for the first level up. Yeah, we don't need that. Do need that. This is where we get Radiance at Dawn, which is quite a potent thing. We're not going to use it very often though. It's it's a thing. It is useful if you have just masses of enemies around you though. So that's level 2. Very straightforward. Happens automatically. Just changing a spell. Alright, here's our level 3 selection. So we've got new abilities, blindness, hold person, prayer of healing. Yeah. Once again, we don't need Bane. But Shield of Faith we do. This is our primary spell. This is going to be the spell that we live on. It's our bread and butter. Increases our AC by 2. That being said, we also get Dark Vision, which is useful because Githyanki don't have it. And that lasts forever until you take a long rest. So you just pop that sucker on first thing when you leave the house. Alright, and so this is our final level up for early access. Max level's 4, so we add in that cantrip. We customize our spells. You notice we don't have a lot of spell slots. It's yeah, we just don't do it. It's not our thing. However, Inflict Wounds is one of the most potent spells for a melee character. Especially a character built like this. It is amazing. I cannot overstate how great Inflict Wounds is for this character. So that's taken care of. And we're not going to do an actual feat. We are just raising stats. So that gives us the 18 strength and 16 con. You notice the armor that he's wearing is Githyanki half plate, which we stole from the girl in the intro. Because we need it more than she does. We also stole her longsword because we're proficient with them, being a Githyanki. So with all that, I'll come back and show you what your stats are before you ever start collecting equipment. Alright, so this is all stuff that you can get right in the intro. We got the Githyanki half plate, the shield that you started with, and the longsword. And with that, we've got a 19 AC. So when we pop on Shield of Faith, that takes us up to a 21. Our melee attack is a +6, and there is a +1 longsword available for sale. So you can put that on there, get that +7. So with that, you're at a 21 AC, a +7 to your attack. So with any amount of positioning, you're good to go. We've got the Dark Vision here, which comes from Light Domain, which is extremely useful. You know, we don't really use Burning Hands or Scorching Ray. Scorching Ray is a ranged attack. We don't have the stats to do that well. So, not terribly worried about that one. Fairy Fire we do occasionally use, just because it is super useful. Not as useful as Bless, though, because we aren't set to be aggressive spellcasters. So, Bless, we use the defensive spells far more often. The only offensive spell that I actually use on this character is Inflict Wounds and Inflict Wounds 2. Other than that, everything is, just one concentration spell, whether it's Bless if you need it, or far more likely Shield of Faith, which pops that AC up. And this character is essentially invincible. You don't have a great dex save, but you do have a good dex save. You can be put to sleep, for what that's worth. So mental effects are the bane of this character. However, physical powerhouse, both offensively and defensively. So that's that build, and I'm going to come back and show you a dex build, and then I'll go into several items which contain spoilers at the end of the video, and I'll put in a warning before I do that, because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody unless they want me to. So there's that, and we'll be right back for the dex build. Alright, welcome back for the dex build. So when we look over here, we find out that dex has only 3 abilities under it: acrobatics, sleight of hand, and stealth. So for our origin, we're going to start with Urchin, which has sleight of hand and stealth. Race, there is some argument over this, but in my humble opinion, which is not humble at all, I go for Wood Elf. Wood Elf has Fleet of Foot, which is slightly more movement speed, which is fine. We double up on the stealth proficiency, but that's not important. They do have dark vision, but more importantly, they have the longbow proficiency. And getting that is essential to doing great damage. And I say great damage, but range doesn't get a damage bonus, so it is what it is. There is an argument for the drow because they get a rapier proficiency. Rapier is a great finesse weapon. So for a dex build that's going melee, that might be the idea. But if you're trying to keep ranged, I recommend the Wood Elf. One other thing of note is the halflings. You get a dex +2 and a con +1. You have a lower movement speed. However, you have lucky. If you roll 1 for an attack, you get to re-roll, which is kind of great, except for that they have no weapon proficiencies racially. So I'm going to go with the Wood Elf, and I can show that off to you. And actually, we can get a different background if you want. I'm not really worried about the skills on mine. So Charlotte and Sleight of Hand and Deception. Yay! Either way. Appearance I'm not going to worry about. Class is a Cleric. And once again, it's a light Cleric. Deity, we'll just go with Tempest again. It seems to work for us. Prepared spells. Oh, that list is going to change real quick. Skills, whatever you want. Alright, so abilities. So first thing we do is drop our strength, because we don't need it. I mean, you can keep it at a 10 if you want. Not a huge deal either way. Intelligence we don't need. Charisma we don't need. Those are wasted. Dex we do need. So Dex 17, that is essential. Con, you always want to max your con. The con, it covers a lot of things. And so you can do whatever you want with these wisdom points. We are going to do some offensive casting with this build. So I do want to keep them there. I don't really need the intelligence or charisma because I'm not planning on being friendly with everyone. So prepared spells, we start with 3. We've got Guiding Bolt, which is a ranged attack, which is going to be our big damage dealer. And then instead of Shield of Faith, which we take on the melee character, we're going to start out with Bless. It just helps us hit more often. It's not going to turn the tide of battle early on. But yeah, so I'll come back when we level up to show you what we've done and why. Alright, and here we are for our level up process. It is very, very similar to what you've already seen. Of course, we have the Radiance of the Dawn. So now, of course, we don't need Bane. However, Shield of Faith, just in case. Bless is more useful on this character than Shield of Faith normally because we're not taking a lot of attacks. And we already have a pretty formidable AC. So, that's the big change there. Of course, we get our turn on Dead. And so then we'll be back for level 3. Yay! Level 3. So, level 3, once again, it tries to put Bane in there because it is the first available slot. I just don't use it. So there are 2 things you can do here. One is a concentration spell, which I prefer not to do because I use my defensives for those hold person. It's quite useful. blindness less so. But halt is actually quite good because with this character you're going to be moving around a lot. So if something's chasing you down, you can stop it, get to a good vantage to fire it down. Or you can take something less great, lesser restoration, although you should have that on your other cleric. Prayer of healing, you should have that on your other cleric as well. And that's not useful in combat at any rate. Bane, the problem is that it's resisted way more than I think it should be. So, but yeah, so we'll put halt in there. And then, of course, we get the same benefits as before. We don't need the dark vision on this character, so we can use it on other characters, if as the need arises. So yeah, that's level 3. Alright, and level 4. So very much the same as the other build, just in the opposite direction. So once again, it tries to give us Bane, and I'm like, hey, I really don't use Bane. It's not viable in my opinion. But some people use it, some people really like it. They really like it. It's a thing. They like it. Whatever. So 1 point to dexterity, and 1 point to con. Gets our preparation. We keep our con high. That way we can keep our hit points high. We got good con save. There are a lot of con saves here. And then dex. Great saves on dex. So, that is what it is. A lot of things are dex saves. So that's our leveling for the dex build, and then I'm going to show you the inventory. Alright, and so this is the inventory screen. Very much the same. We stole the armor from the Githyanki. We stole her short bow. And then here we're going to want a short sword. But this is preliminary before actually equipping. This is just starting out. You're using the short bow primarily at any rate. The biggest thing that I can say is this should edit. I'm assuming that they're going to fix this because this is still accounting for our shield, which gives us a 19 AC. Oh, actually, no, it doesn't because we have the higher dex, and there's no dex limit to armors that get a dex bonus. Wait, there is. That's odd. So either it's accounting for the shield, which it shouldn't be while we're using the bow, or it's giving too much dex bonus from the Gith armor. And I think it's actually accounting for the shield. Which it's super strange because we're not wielding the shield yet somehow we get the AC from it. I just worked all that out here in the video with you. Great. I didn't notice it before. So there's that. So I'm going to go ahead and go through a couple of spoilers right now. Number 1, you notice I keep dropping my intelligence. That is because it is super easy to pop your intelligence up to 18. Instead of trying to talk your way out of the fight with the 3 ogres in the blighted village, kill them. Lunk has a circlet which will raise your intelligence to 18. There is a longsword +1 that is available for sale in the Druid Grove from the Tiefling. Easy to get. There is also a longbow there, which is relatively cheap. I don't know that I've seen a longbow +1, but I'm confident that there is one somewhere. I just hadn't been looking for it. I played melee on my primary build. A couple of other things. There is a necklace, which is great, especially for the ranged character. If you kill the Archdruid, whatever her name is, the chick with the snake, she has a necklace that whenever you're healed, it applies poison to your weapon. So you can heal yourself using a bonus action, healing word, and then fire with poison. So that's a thing. There are gloves that give you proficiency to strength saves. Those are on the leader of the tieflings, and you can kill him without aggroing anybody else in my experience, although I had already started a war between the tieflings and the druids at the time. So when I went to go see him in the cave, I killed him. Nobody else really cared. So there's that. And so that's those slots. There aren't a lot of rings out and about yet that are great. I haven't seen any cloaks yet or belts. But yeah, so here we're going to get a +1 short sword, which we're proficient with as an elf. If you took the drow path because you wanted to be more melee dex, you can actually get a +1 rapier from that same merchant. So, and these are all acquirable very early in the game. The hardest one is to, go murder the ogres. It is a little bit of a tough find if you go straight over there, but it's not too bad as long as the goblins don't jump in. So, just be prepared for that. And as I say, it's not a matter of being perfect. It's a matter of being better, because you're maxing out at level 4. So there's not a whole lot of min-maxing that you can do in all the classes. Everything's not implemented yet for all the classes. So this is just working with what we have at day 1. Clerics become horrifyingly overpowered because, as I say, you can have that one concentration spell, which if it's a bless, then you're working with a +10 attack. +11 if you've got the +1 version of your weapon. And if you're being attacked, you use the Shield of Faith. That pops you up to a 21 AC, which is extremely hard to hit. So whichever one, really, either way is of great benefit. If you don't have mobility on the battlefield, then Fairy Fire can be terribly advantaged. But the big thing with Fairy Fire is it can be resisted, and if you can move around the battlefield to get advantage by attacking from behind or from height if you're using range, then it's much better to use a bless than it is a Fairy Fire, because you're already getting advantage by mobility. There is one other thing I'll say. Guiding Bolt is a ranged attack, and so for this build it is great because you're already preparing for the ranged attacks. You have the slightly higher wisdom, which gives you a bonus to that, and you're already going to be in those positions where your ranged attack will benefit from positioning. So keep that in mind when you do. Other than that, just kind of have fun with it. As more things come out, I'm sure that the other classes will balance out a bit better. I say that, but I'm not entirely sure. However, right now, clerics are horrifyingly OP if you build them to specialize. Now, I say that with this build, unlike the physical build, you have a few points to split out that are left over. So you could take a lower wisdom and a higher charisma if you didn't want to murder everybody, but where's the fun in that? So hopefully this was informative. If anybody has any questions or comments, please leave them below. So until they institute more content for me to murderlize, that'll be it, and we'll see you next time. Till then, everyone, stay safe.